People are making losses on apartments in Sydney? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got my stein of coffee in my hand and I thought we'd look at this article, which is frankly insanely obvious, that apartment owners in Sydney may be having to sell for a loss. Okay, this is apparently news. Or, well, think about it. We're being told that now's the time to buy. Rush off and buy off the plan. Get that new loan. You know, spend $700,000 on an apartment. You know, you'll make money. Property's always going to go up. It's guaranteed. Dollar cost average those properties down. But reality's starting to hit home. So desperate homeowners have been reselling units for up to $200,000 less than they paid in suburbs where the supply of new high-rise apartments has been mounting. So that is the problem with this entire thing. You've got so much stock coming onto market. Even in Brisbane, they talk about it all the time, the amount of apartments that are coming online. Tens of thousands of apartments. Even if you're in one of these, you know, if you're on a building, an apartment in this complex, you're competing with everyone else in that complex when you want to sell. You're competing with everyone else in that complex when you want to get a tenant. And now we have, you know, that the triangle of fail here in Sydney, you know. So there is rampant discussion in the media with regards to construction issues. There is a parliamentary inquiry in New South Wales about building issues, building quality. And for some reason, you know, people are losing money on their apartments. So I feel sorry for the people that have gotten in this situation, but I can't say I'm at all slightly surprised. Yeah. And I don't think anyone watching any of my videos will be surprised as well, because it's just obvious. So a growing number of unit owners in Sydney's new high-rise buildings have been losing money when it comes time to resell, as the fallout from dangerous building defects continues to drag down prices. So prices are heading down. And, you know, one thing we need to consider, and I'll see what I can bring up here, I've got it in a moment, is that we haven't really hit difficult times yet. You know, we're still not in a recession yet. And this is the prediction for prices here. And we look at, you know, Sydney house prices. They were predicted to, you know, drop down by 57 grand. Unit prices were predicted to drop down in Sydney by 54,000. And look at that Sydney house price, 872,000. I mean, this is from April 1st, so it may be a bit of a joke, but it still seems insane. Melbourne, 700. Melbourne units, 500. Brisbane, we're going down. Units going down as well. I mean, 5%. Units are taking the hit everywhere. So the fact that we're seeing, you know, some people having to cut 200 grand off their apartments is not really a surprise. And it's going to get worse. It will get worse. Unemployment was steady this last quarter, although I don't agree with the methodology that the ABS is using to measure it. I think there are much better methodologies out there. And my concern is that once unemployment starts to hit, once we get more of a slowdown in the economy, this is going to just snowball. This is just going to snowball and get worse. So here we go. Let's have a look. Close to a quarter of apartment sellers in Crane-laden, Mascot and surrounding suburbs, Zetland and Waterloo, exchanged their homes for less than they paid, with the biggest losses surpassing 200,000. Sales figures from the past 3 months have revealed. So people are getting, in that situation, they're getting desperate, or they're having to cut their losses and go. We saw earlier today the issues with regards to Mascot, where if you're, you know, buying in there, you're also buying into the responsibilities to pay the ongoing repair bills. And someone left a comment that, you know, stage 1 was $10 million. What are the other stages going to cost? Hopefully not as much. A similar proportion of vendors were making losses in Homebush and neighbouring suburbs surrounding Sydney's Olympic Park and Wentworth Point. There you go. Losses were concentrated in these areas because of recent reports of cracking and flammable cladding issues in nearby buildings such as Mascot Towers, Olympic Park Towers. Well, let's have a look. What we'll do is we'll bring up the map that I've created, the construction map. So we will have a look at some of the examples of cladding issues in Sydney. And you can see here, this is the map of it, where they've got cladding risk assessment. Some of them is underway, some of them are completed, some of them have been completed, and then no issues. Yes, completed, further testing or investigation. So, this is just gonna get worse and worse. The more of this information that people have access to, the more that they're going to get. There's going to be more pressure put on conveyancing lawyers. There's going to be more pressure put on real estate agents. People are going to be asking all these types of questions. Where's your cladding? What's your quality assurance? Is this just a Phoenix company? What's this? They're going to be putting pressure on the market, which in some ways is good. It means that the reputable, or the people that really take pride in the product they're delivering, will be able to take pride and should still do well. But the dodgy operators, which sadly I think there would be a fair few, are going to suffer. So this unit in Mascot sold in 2015 for $1.24 million, and again in 2019 for $950,000. Wow. Look at the view. $1.2 million in 2015. Wow, okay. The incidents discouraged some home seekers from buying in high-rise blocks at a time when listing figures pointed to a mounting oversupply of units, housing experts have said. Well, yes, that's the thing. We're heading down. The market is going to start heading down. I'd bet a carton that what we've experienced with a slight uptick in prices was a dead cat bounce, and it's going to head down again. We'll see. CoreLogic head of research, Tim Lawless, said the increased supply and lower demands was pushing down prices and leaving unit owners in a dangerous position. Well, if it's an investment, guys, it's an investment. There's always a chance that it can go down. It can't go up forever. The recent examples of construction defects and cladding issues across the high-rise apartment sector will be weighing down buyer sentiment, he said. We can see this reflected in weaker resale prices on newly built stock. Well, there you go. It's kind of a different tune to what we were reading a week ago, isn't it? It's funny that. So a unit in this building on Muller Lane in Mascot recently sold for $790,000, but the seller had paid $810 in 2015. Okay, so only a 20 grand loss. That's not too bad. Sometimes you got to cop these losses, guys. It's business. It's investment. It's not just going to head up. It's not just going to head up all the time. Recent off-the-plan purchases were in particularly precarious positions, Mr. Lawless added. Considering the higher level of supply and reduction in valuations, many buyers are likely to experience a settlement valuation of their property that is lower than the contract price, he said. Now that's a really concerning thing. We saw this happen in New Zealand with the young lady who put a 60 grand deposit on an apartment that her mother sold her unconditionally, and it's now worth less, so the bank won't give her the finance. Now here's the question: when you're buying off the plan, can't you sign it up subject to finance and then can maintain the deposit afterwards? I bet you they'd be too smart to let you doing that, but still. And this is a concern if you had a whole lot of people buying off the plan and now they default. What's going to happen? The risk was greatest for those who bought high-rise investment-grade units, typically two-bedroom homes, in city pockets where there was still a long pipeline of new apartments in the works, Mr. Lawless said. Here you go. This unit on George Street in Waterloo recently sold for 1.3, which is below the 2016 price of 1.5. Wow. There you go. This area includes Sydney's inner south and the Waterloo-Beaconsfield region just north of Mascot, where a mammoth 1,600 units remain under construction, despite there already being a glut of units currently for sale. There you go, 1,600 units remain under construction, and there's already a glut. What does that tell you? And for an investment, has tanked. Foreign investment has tanked. Close to 1,000 units were also under construction in Mascot itself, while in the Homebush Bay region there were almost 1,300 units in the works. Who is going to buy all this stuff? Propertology head of research, Simon Pearsley, said unit owners in some high-rise areas may not be able to ride out current conditions in the hope they will improve, and those who waited for a rebound were running a major risk. There you go. Now may be the time that people have to sell. Just cop the loss. Vendors of this unit in Wentworth Point resold for $260 less than they paid. Less than they paid. The best treatment is most likely to sell sooner rather than later, Mr. Presley said, adding, the same mass-produced Lego buildings did not have a history of strong growth in prices. Were they telling you that when you were signing up to buy? I wonder. Units sold for some of the biggest losses over the past 3 months include a 3-bedroom apartment in Stromboli Strait in Wentworth Point in the Homebush area. Vendors had paid $1.56 for the 242 square meter apartment in 2016, but recently resold it for $1.26. Did I get that wrong to say 1.5? Well, it's 1.5 and they sold for 1.2. Loss of $260. Multiple units on Lachlan Street, Gadigal Ave, and McKeveny Street in Waterloo sold for $170 to $190 less than the vendors paid in 2015 or 2016. Well, they've renamed it. That's why. So there you go, guys. What do you think? Are you at all surprised? Do you think the cladding issues will have an impact on this? And are people going to learn? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe quick, run out, get that low interest loan, buy off the plan. I mean, is this just because people are emotionally invested? They're rushing to buy, feel like having fear of missing out, and that they need to get into these apartments. I mean, sure, the 1 million plus, that obviously I would really hope it's not first home buyers, but the people buying the smaller units. Would a first home buyer be going up to $700,000 for their first home? Maybe in Sydney. That would be terrifying, having that much of debt on a normal income. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think this is the beginning? Are we going to hear more and more of this? What about the number of units coming on the market? How is this going to affect it? Anyway, guys, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.